Let's look at an example how we can use the if function with multiple conditions to filter through complex data based on certain things that we want to get out. So we have our list of countries here. You can see a link below in the description. Here we have the country names with one word or multiple words, and we have the country ISO code with 2 letters, and also the country ISO code with 3 letters. Our goal would be to filter the country names where the country name has more than one word and the country ISO code does not match, or the first letter of the country ISO code does not match the first letter of the country name. This will be our first condition, and the second condition will be where the country name is just one word and it does not match the first letter of the country ISO code. For example, here we have Algeria and the country ISO code starts with D. So this does not match the first letter and we want to filter these ones out and get them separately. First, we need an HTTP module to get the sample data, making a request, and then just copy the URL that is below in this video in the description. This will give you the sample data you have seen in that Google Sheet just inside make. Make sure to tick the parse response box. This is not ticked by default, but it will make sure that your output looks nicely. Now, always save it. So let's run it and see what the output data looks like. We are getting this data back. It contains 5 pages and then the countries are passed as a data array, and then each country is a collection of the country name, index, ISO 3, and the official language is empty actually. So we are going to work with this array now. To split up the array and work with individual items, we need an iterator, and we are going to set it up that way, data, and then the data array within the data that is being returned from the HTTP module. This is what we want to iterate. So we want to split it up into individual chunks of the countries, and it will look like this. Now we have bundles for every country and we can process it further. Next, we are going to go with variable to set our condition and set the proper output. So we are going to build our function here. And lastly, we want to output it text aggregator. So we have it nicely formatted as well. And the source module is our iterator. As text, we want to have the country name, then a colon, and then the country ISO 2 code. And we turn on the advanced settings. We use new row as the row separator. And we also want to group it by the status, because ultimately we want to know which is the group of the multiple word countries that don't match the first letter of the ISO 2 code and which are the ones that are okay, which pass our filters. Now let's do this one time and run this whole thing to see what it outputs right now. Here's our output. It has all the bundles from the iterator, all the countries, and then it simply outputs a very long list of all our countries, like this. Now let's start building out our function. We need an if function so we can use an expression, and then we have a value if the expression is true and a value if the expression is wrong. First, we are going to check the amount of words. So that can be done by using the split function and then splitting the country name by the space, which you can find in the A tab. So that will create an array of the words inside a country name. And now we can determine the length of it. So using length, and this will give us back the amount of words that the country name has. Now we need a math operator to check if it's bigger than 1. So if we have more than one word. So let's check it out. Multiple words, if this is true. And if it's false, then we just have one word. And we are just going to test this one more time here. Now the output looks the following. We have 2 bundles as output because they are grouped by the status. We have the one-word countries, which is this list over here. And we have the multiple-word countries, which is this one. So this already worked pretty well. And now we are going to further refine this function because our goal was not to check if it has multiple words or one word, but actually if the first letter of the name matches the first letter of the ISO code. We can add multiple conditions by just adding the AND parameter here. And now we are going to check the first letter of the country name by using the substring function. Substring will basically cut off everything of that input and just give back the first letter or the first character. So substring country name, and then we are going to check if it's not equal to the substring of our ISO 2. And here we also get this first one out. Remember, the first one is 0. The second character is 1. So you have to start at 0 here. All right. So now we have this one and our condition, or if this is true, then we have this as a condition. Country with multiple words and the first letter of the name does not match with the first letter of the 2-digit ISO code. And for everything else, it's simply okay because we don't have another condition yet. Let's run this once and check the output. Our output looks the following now. We have all of these statuses which are okay, or these country names which are okay because the first letter of the country name and the first letter of the 2-digit ISO code matches for multiple words. So for example, Algeria is still in here because it's just a one word. But these are here the list that got extracted, the British Indian Ocean Territory, because it starts with IO and that does not match. Now to add in another condition for the one word function, we can simply copy this into a text editor. So we're opening up a notepad and then pasting the whole function in here, which makes it easier to modify it. You can split it up like this, so it's easier to see. We have our parentheses to wrap it in. Then we have our OK condition, which is like the last condition. And then we have our if here. So we can simply copy and paste everything in here and then paste it one more time. Let's add some more new lines so it's easier to read. And the only thing that we want to change now is the bigger than or greater than symbol, and want to change it to an equal symbol, because right now we are checking if it's equal to 1. So if it's just a one word country, and then the rest would be the same. We just update the value of output. So it will be like this within the quotation marks, country with one word, and the first letter of the name does not match with the first letter of the 2-digit ISO code. And then we can copy everything and paste it back into our screen. That was pretty easy, pretty fast to duplicate that. Make also automatically adds parentheses at the end, but be careful that it's not using the parentheses in the wrong spot. So you can also make it inside the text editor, but you can also add the parentheses in text editor, but you have to know when it's opening and when it's closing. Now, an advanced trick you can use is hovering over the if function to know exactly what parameters are part of this function. So you can see everything is underlined that belongs to the if function. We have 2 semicolons and a closing parentheses at the end. And you can also hover over any function inside the formula to see which function it belongs to. Now the length, for example, it includes the split function, substring is this one, and so on. So you can hover over everything. And then especially the closing brackets at the end are important that they are in place. Now this is our final function. Let's try to run this one more time. And check our output. We now have the countries that are okay, where it's one word or multiple words, where the first letter matches the first letter of the 2-digit ISO code. Then we have the one word countries where it does not match the first letter of the 2-digit ISO code. And we have the multiple word country names that don't match the first letter of the 2-digit ISO code. I hope this helped and was interesting for you, and that you know now how you can use multiple conditions inside your if functions to filter your complex data and get out your desired output. And now one more note, this is being output as multiple bundles. So bundle 1, the OK countries will process first, then it will process bundle 2, and then bundle 3.